Guys, how's it going? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review I want to look at the Halo 4 Series 1 Wave 2 or Extended Wave Crawler figure. Now this is one of the new Promethean characters, and it's actually a pretty good figure. The Watcher was kind of unimpressive, and this one is just about what I expected, what I was hoping for, so I'm pretty happy to talk about it today. If you measure from head to tail, he's about 5.5 inches long. Up to the shoulder, he's about 4 inches tall, depending on how you pose him. So, good size figure. Just for comparison, that's him, and that's one of the Spartan figures. So, pretty good size. Like I said, it depends on how you pose him, but he comes up to the Spartan's shoulders, and he's as tall as him if you go that way. So, again, it's a good size figure. Paint application is pretty good. He's got a decent mix of darks and lights. The lighter colors are metallic. The yellowish orange colors that are supposed to be glowing, they could have used a few more coats of paint. Now, oranges and yellows are hard to paint to begin with, but coming from a factory, meaning they can do as much as they want and make it as nice as they want, they definitely didn't do the best job. If you look, there's a lot of chipping and kind of fuzzy paint work, so it's not the best, but it is passable, and I'm not going to complain too much about that. The sculpt is pretty much spot on. Of course, in the game, a lot of the pieces of this guy aren't actually physically connected. They just kind of hover around each other. So there's only so much they could have done. They used black parts instead. I think they probably could have used clear since it's not supposed to be there. But it still looks pretty good. And the articulation is really good too, so let's talk about that. Each part of his mandible, if you want to call it that, is articulated. But like I said, the paintwork's not great, so I leave his mouth closed most of the time. The head has a ratchet joint in there for side to side or up and down if you turn it, and then of course it rotates on there, and it's the same thing for this part of the neck. It's got the ratchet and you can turn it, so you can pretty much pose the head however you want to, and you'll get it where you want it to be, so that's pretty good. And the torso has rotation right here, and then it also has a pivot in there as well, and this joint's actually done really well. It's very well hidden and it looks great pretty much no matter how you pose it. So very nice piece of articulation right there. The shoulders are just a basic ball joint. You can't get a whole lot of motion out of them. It's pretty much just this swivel right there. The elbows have a joint you should be familiar with if you collect the Halo figures. Too many pieces here. Let's get it to focus. So you should be familiar with that type. It's a ratchet, although it's kind of loose here, which is a problem for this guy because he's got these real spindly legs, and this part's almost all solid, so he's kind of heavy, and his articulation's not the strongest, but it's a supposedly ratcheted hinge joint right there, and then this part rotates as well. It's the same on both elbows, and then we have basically the same articulation at this part right here. It's another ratchet, and it rotates, only this time it rotates on both, it's ratchet there, and it rotates on both ends. So it rotates at the foot, and then actually you can rotate the hinge itself inside there. So pretty good amount of articulation there. The hips, they have the same kind of ratcheted hinge, so it ratchets, and then it also rotates. And then you have the same thing inside the thigh. It ratchets like that, and also rotates around. So you can pretty much pose the legs however you want, and you're going to get plenty of motion. Now his knees, his rear knees, it's kind of the same joint. They rotate that way, and they're supposed to hinge, ratchet, but there's really no play there, so that's just about useless. And then the rear ankles, if you want to call them ankles, are the same as the front. There's a ratcheted ball joint, and it rotates at the top and the bottom. So really good amount of articulation. You should be able to get him to pose just about however you want. The only thing to look out for really is the looseness of some of the joints based on his weight. It's not the best situation, but it should do. One thing worth noting is, considering how skinny his joints are, they should have probably a little bit more range of motion. If you look, they don't even go 90 degrees. So it would have been nicer to get a little bit more range of motion out of those. But it's still not bad, and it is a decent looking figure. So I would say this is a must-have if you're collecting the Halo figures. One of the new enemies is going to be really common in the game, and it's a decent figure. There's really not too much to complain about. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I think you should pick it up if you can. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the rest of the reviews, and in the meantime, keep collecting.